Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you all so
Hare
much
Krishna.
for being here. It's great to be with you. My obeisances to everyone. Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha, kripa sindhuvaevacha, patitanang pavanebhyo, vaishnaveno namo namaha. And our prayers to Srila Prabhupada for his blessings and his presence and his inspiration. Because without plugging into Prabhupada, we're not going anywhere. I don't have the potency alone. So you plug into the big powerhouse of Prabhupada, who's connected all the way back to Parampara, right to Balaram, the source of all spiritual strength. What to speak of Lord Nityananda in there as the ultimate booster. So making it so sweet. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Nitanamane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pricharne Nirvishesha Shonyavari Paskacha Deshe Tarne. Jai. Does everyone know Kirtaneshwar?
Yeah.
No. Oh, Kirtaneshwar. He's a disciple of a very dear friend of mine, Jivananda. Is my god brother, and he's become a real pundit. He's second generation devotee, but he's got all these degrees. It makes me feel like a small timer. He's got, oh my God, he's got,
No.
what's the first one? The first level?
Bhakti Shastri.
Bhakti Shastri, and then Bhakti Vaibhava.
Yeah.
He was telling me that he was it was like an immersion course for like 4 months where he was studying the Bhagavatam at, and looking at it from angles of vision that I barely even follow him. He was describing, why things are in certain particular places. I always just bought off with, well, it's nothing is really in perfect sequence. It's not like it isn't like a story you read where something happened then, and then this happened, and this happened. It's all sort of mixed up. But apparently, there's some logic to it that I don't even know about. But that's interesting. And so, but him and I get together from time to time, and we, especially he has questions that he brings me special questions. One of my favorite questions that he brought to me, which he reminded me of, this is years ago. He talked about
2021.
this is 2021. Oh my God. Okay, this is 5 years ago. He approached me with a beautiful question. He said that and correct me if I don't get this exactly right, but I want to see if my memory is correct, that there was a devotee at the temple, and Kirtaneshwar lives in the temple, and he's become like a real, the real pundit of the temple. He gives the lion's share of the classes, etc. But he was asking me about one devotee who he knew he was an advanced devotee, was a senior devotee. Is he a Prabhupada disciple?
No, but just 78. So,
Oh, okay, got
yeah.
it. A real senior guy, advanced, but he said he was mean. He had this mean streak in him. And he asked me, how is that? How is that? How is that possible? And whenever I answer any question, I'm always thinking, I can't answer this on my own. I always ultimately go to Prabhupada. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that he's the source of our remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness, right? It all really comes from Krishna. And so I always feel like, I'm basically an instrument. It's a healthy way for us to think that we're an instrument to the parampara. So um, I was waiting for something to come down the pike, something into my brain. And so the way I answered that question was that this is something that you're not going to, by the way, a lot of things we're not going to find necessarily in the Bhagavatam. answer to every question isn't going to be there. But the Bhagavatam and all the scriptures that we have, and as we advance in spiritual life, it teaches us how to think so that we can go beyond just exactly what it says. Because you're not going to, every answer isn't there. And I think Prabhupada wanted us to learn how to think and how to apply the philosophy. And often, when we get into like sort of complex things like this question, how is it that this guy's an advanced devotee, but he's mean? I think if you were to ask any number of devotees, senior devotees that have been around for a while, or even those that haven't been around that long, but they're advancing quickly, you'll get different angles of vision. And one of the things I think that we find out about devotees is that there's different chemistry and different ways of thinking. And we often hear, like Bhaktivinoda Thakur, speaking about like-minded devotees, that we want to find people that we are like-minded with, and that we like the way they think, because different people think differently. And there's, for example, there's those devotees that are very, very conservative, and some that are very liberal. And I like to think of myself as very conservative on some issues, but generally liberal. So anyway, we want to find like it's very important to be connecting with like-minded devotees. So anyway, my answer to that question was, from my experience being around for a while, is that when we come to spiritual life, we've got a lot of karma behind us, and we often talk about samskars, things that we've done in the past, and things that are kind of with us. And for example, we may have run into someone, we may have experienced this ourselves. Some people are practically born with a short fuse. Does everybody know what I mean by a short fuse? I guess especially our Nepali devotees, I've got to ask. What does it mean if someone has a short fuse? Sandhya.
Is it short temper, Gurudev?
Yeah, short temper. Yeah, they go off quickly. And they're kind of born that way. They're like, it's there. And some people I meet, they're very humble. They've been humble since birth. They're like, somehow behind them, they're naturally humble. And some people, but they may be other people that have other qualities that are just kind of there, it's almost like part of who they are. So I was thinking that this person who could be mean, that it's something that may be with them for a long time, just almost like karmically. And so we really want to try to see in devotees the good things, not necessarily just the bad things. We don't want to take them out of perspective or out of proportion. And like I know some devotees, they're great devotees, but they got something that's that it's not so pretty, but they're just kind of born with it, and they're controlling it. They're working on it. And I think that just yesterday, when I was speaking with Kirtaneshwar, he was saying actually this person it's gotten a lot better. The situation's improved. So I think that amongst devotees, we will still see. They're not going to be like Prabhupada. Now, Prabhupada's like perfect in every respect, but we've got different samskars, and they kind of play out differently. But they're in the shower. They're taking, they're chanting, they're going through the process, and it may even linger to the last moment. And but Krishna is, especially Lord Chaitanya, worshiping Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda, they're just seeing the positive things, not so much the negative things. And I tend to see, and someone's chanting, even just someone who's chanting, like we can read in the is it Upadeshamrita, where it's saying that Krishneti jasya giri sang manasandriyeta dikshasti che pranati bishchadravanchamisham shushushya bhajana vigyamananya anya nindari shunyam hridam ipsita sangalabhya. That we want to see if someone is just Krishneti jasya giri, if someone is just chanting the holy name, even they got all kinds of bad qualities, we still offer them respects, right? We may not be bowing down before them, etc. We don't want to might not even want to associate with them, but anyone who's just vibrating the holy name, we offer them respect. And then we learn that, dikshasti che, those who have taken diksha, that are gotten very serious about spiritual life, then we, we offer, physically offer obeisances, and we want to seek their association. So anyway, that was my answer to that question. And I thought it was a fun question that how we'd yeah. Kirtaneshwar, you want to share anything about that situation? You said
Well,
things have gotten better.
1 second. Yeah, I do want to share something. 1 second. I have some. Just 1 second, Narahari Prabhu. I was just sitting outside, and some guests from the restaurant asked me a question to show them
Okay.
where the restaurant's at. So I do have something to share. It brings up a question.
Okay.
It brings up another question.
All right.
I'm just walking them over there. So yeah, that situation, whenever you're dealing with devotees, it can be very difficult. So, I asked a kind of a similar question to one of my teachers in Mayapur. You know Srivas Prabhu?
Srivas, no.
From Africa?
No.
He's
No.
like a GBC in Africa.
Uh-huh.
And I asked him that question once, and he brought up a comment by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur that I then later read in the Madhurya Kadambini. And what he said was, sometimes devotees, welcome. Sometimes devotees, they may act obnoxious. And he said, he's a very humble devotee. He's one of the senior disciples of Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj.
Uh-huh.
And he said very humbly, sometimes devotees are so obnoxious. They can be so obnoxious, He said it, with a very humble and a sadness in his heart, but he said, but we still have to find a way to serve them.
Yeah.
He said, we still have to find a way to serve them. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that. And he says that actually, if you think, this devotee is a bad devotee, they're acting so mean and this and that, and you think that way, and then therefore you treat them with less respect, then actually you actually get the offenses they make. If you blame them for these offenses. So we have to see that even if they're bad, we try to serve them. So what I kind of gathered from that, and over the years is sometimes this devotee just needs to say things, he needs to process his own emotions. He needs to talk about them. He needs to maybe say comments that are not what I would generally want to hear. But what I've realized is, I can serve him by just hearing, by just hearing and being like a space holder for that, and kind of understanding that that's where he's at. He's got great sadhana, great, shloka wala, but he just has to deal with that in that way. And it's been helpful. It's been helpful to think about, as a service, how can I serve them that, this devotee is dealing with a situation just like I'm dealing with a situation. And I think in time, we've had some altercations quite since that we've talked last about that. That was years ago. But, mutual respect and service. Like I was just doing service with him all morning. That devotee, I was we were setting up a festival together, and we were having a good time. I was feeling, happy in his association. And I feel he was happy in mine, but we just have to find a way to serve them. That's my realization on the matter. But it brings a question up because you brought this up, and I was hoping to ask a senior devotee this question, if you don't mind.
Not at all.
Okay, so there's a verse in Bhagavad Gita. Let me bring it up here. Make sure it's in the 14th chapter. Because what happens is that when I read, I read a lot, and I'll get a verse in my mind. For a few days, I'll be like contemplating a verse, and it'll be kind of my verse to get me through the day or through the week or through the month even. And so chapter 14, the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna asks a question. Arjuna asks, what are the symptoms of one who has transcended the modes of material
Atakena piyuktoyam
nature?
papam chariti purusham. Nishchana pivarshana, that one?
And Krishna, that might be the question he asks. I'm not sure. I'm actually referring to the answer. Krishna said, this is chapter 14, verse 22 through 25. Krishna says, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, O son of Pandu, he who does not hate illumination, attachment, and delusion when they are present, or long for them when they disappear, who is unwavering and undisturbed through all these reactions of the material qualities, remaining neutral and transcendental, knowing that the modes alone are active, who is situated in the self and regards alike happiness and distress, who looks upon a lump of earth, a stone, and a piece of gold with an equal eye, who is equal toward the desirable and the undesirable, who is steady, situated equally well in praise and blame, honor and dishonor, who treats alike both friend and enemy, and who has renounced all material activity. Such a person is said to have transcended the modes of nature.
Okay.
And Prabhupada says at one point in the purport, nicely, he says this, he says, when a living entity stays in this material world embodied by the material body, it is to be understood that he is under the control of one of the three modes of material nature. When he is actually out of the body, then he is out of the clutches of the material nature. But as long as he is not out of the material body, he should be neutral. He should engage himself in devotional service of the Lord so that his identity with the material body will automatically be forgotten. So it makes me realize, my question is sometimes we find that, I am definitely in illusion, or, attachment is present. And what Prabhupada is saying, what Krishna is saying, is we should be neutral. We should not hate attachment when it appears. We shouldn't hate illusion when it appears. We should become neutral and transcendental to it. And the person I think about is Vritrasura, because he was a demon, yet he was somehow a pure devotee. So I was wondering if you can illuminate that concept some, that, we may be in illusion and attachment, but we have to not long for not being there. And then I guess the idea, the next Krishna kind of maybe answers it as Mamta Yovya Bicharina Bhakti Yogena Sevate Sagunan Samatit Yaitan Brahma Bhuya Kalpate. But then even we're performing devotional service, we may find sometimes attachment, illusion takes place.
Well,
Illumination.
I have an interesting way of looking at that. And I can look at it from different angles of vision. One is that I think that while we're at the stage that we're at, that if we were completely detached from our bodies and completely detached from illusion, I don't think we'd be able to function, because we're at our stage. We're not completely. We haven't let go of everything yet. And if, for example, I'm giving this class, and I'm trying to, on a certain level, I'm thinking that I'm coming up with these ideas, even though I just mentioned to you that I just want to be an instrument. But at the same time, I've got to feel as if I'm doing something. Like Krishna told Arjuna that just become his instrument. He says, Mayai te nitnapurmeva nimatamatra bhavasavya sachin. He told Arjuna that, I've already killed everybody on the battle of Kurukshetra. It's already done. It's a done deal. Because Arjuna, he didn't want to fight. He didn't want to kill anybody because he had already killed them. But then he told them, Nimitamatra bhavasavya sachin. Become my instrument. Become an instrument. Now, it's all done. He's the instrument. Arjuna's just a little theoretical we're just a little soul inside the body. But he had to feel as if he were fighting, even though ultimately at the end of the day we have to feel as if we're acting. But at the same time, at the end of the day, or at various times, we're realizing that I really didn't do anything, right? So we can. It's almost like a virtual reality experience that we're acting in, and so we have to. Like, for example, I know I'm not Narahari. I'm not the person that I think I am. It's got nothing to do with my eternal identity. None of us. The person that we are has nothing to do with our eternal relationship with Krishna. We aren't, I often say, if there's one thing you'd think, we know so many things, but if there's one thing you'd think that we'd know for sure is who we are. But the fact is we don't. We don't really know who we are. So we're kind of dealt like a hand. Yeah, like of course, I never learned how to play cards, but I always hear, you get dealt a certain hand, and then you got to play that hand. So I got dealt this guy, Captain Howie guy, and who's become, whoever this guy is. It's not who I really am, but I'm having fun playing it. I don't want to just say, well, it really isn't me, because I'm kind of stuck with it for this lifetime. It's part of my body that I can't get rid of. It's a subtle body. But have fun with it. Like yourself. Like yourself as you are. And have fun being that person for this lifetime and serve Krishna with that subtle body as well. Now, regarding how do we deal with all these things that are going on around us, negative, positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, how do we deal with that and keep cool, keep a cool head through all of it? I'm going to go into a little bit of college physics. I remember maybe some of you will know this. Okay. How many people have baked a potato before? Has everybody baked a potato? Okay. What temperature do you bake your potato at? Ellie, what do you set the temperature to?
Been so long, but if I were to do it now, I would probably do like 425.
That's okay. Got it. That's exactly what I baked my potato at, 425. Okay. So when you put the potato in, it's going to take a while eventually we want the whole potato to be, so it's going to cook properly. We want the whole thing to be 425, right? But it takes a while. It takes a while for the heat but in time, the heat will totally permeate and the whole potato is going to be 425 degrees, correct? Everybody agree? Leave it in long enough, the whole thing will be that temperature. Well, guess what? Guess what? If you take a thermometer and you take that potato out of the oven and you stick it into the center of the potato, it's not going to be 400. And no matter how long you leave it in there, it's not going to go above about 205 degrees. How's that possible? What's happening is the potato is mostly water. Do you put fork marks in your potato? Does everybody put fork marks in it? That's to let the steam out. What's happening is water, no matter how, you could put water on the hottest stove in the world, but how hot's up? What's the hottest the water can get?
212 degrees.
212 degrees, correct. It can't, unless you change the pressure, it's going to stay at 212 degrees. No matter, if you turn up the flame, what happens? It just boils faster. It boils faster, but it's not, the temperature's not going to change. So because the potato is mostly water, on the outside, it's going to get 425 degrees. It's going to be a nice crispy outside, right? But the inside never gets that hot because it's mostly water. Is that cool? Okay, so what's that have to do with what I'm talking about here? We have to be like a potato. And the outside, yeah, we might get a little crispy. We got to deal with all kinds of stuff. But inside, in the center, in the core of us, picture ourselves now as a potato. We're getting baked. The core of always stays, it keeps its cool, even though the outside it's looking crispy, but inside it's actually quite cool. So we have to be like a potato.
Yeah.
And
that corresponds kind of with the example I was speaking of Vritrasura also. And he was kind of like outside, he was like pretty cooked as a demon, but internally he was still this kind of pure devotee.
Exactly. Just like a potato. He was a great devotee. He was King Chitraketu. He was a great, great, great devotee. And to foreshadow that, when for those who don't know the story, just real briefly, there was a great, great exalted king who was, flying in his airplane and so on. And he stopped and he saw Lord Shiva. Everybody's heard of Lord Shiva, right? Especially in Nepalis, everybody knows Lord Shiva.
Tomorrow.
Oh, okay. So Lord Shiva was sitting with his wife, and she was sitting right on his lap. And to my knowledge, Lord Shiva doesn't wear a lot of clothes. Am I right? He's not like known for be a great dresser. You don't see Lord Shiva in a tuxedo. I mean, he doesn't wear clothes. So he's got his beautiful wife sitting on him. He's preaching to a bunch of sages. And King Chitraketu, he kind of laughed in like amazement, how amazing Lord Shiva is. He's got he's not even clothes on. He's got this beautiful woman in his lap, and he's preaching to all these sages. And he's not the least bit disturbed. He's the ultimate potato. He's so cool inside. So anyway, but his wife, probably Krishna's arrangement, his wife didn't think it was, she felt offended, and she cursed him. And she cursed the king, who was, just in amaze how cool Lord Shiva is. He cursed him to become a demon. And so even after she cursed him, Lord Shiva said, you know the verse?
That verse, I'm actually trying to find it right now. It's an amazing verse. Now I don't know it. I don't have it memorized.
Yeah,
I was on database looking at it.
Narayana paraksavi nakutishana vidyate svarga apavarga narkeshu apitolyartha darshanam. That Narayana Parayana, so that means one who, Parayana is something that's you're really desiring. Narayana Parayana, one who is given his whole heart to Krishna, like King Chitraketu had. Narayana Nakutashjana Vijate. Abhija means fearless. Like Prabhupada's name is Abhay Charande, so he's fearless. So Narayana Nakutashjana Vijate, that means in any situation, he's completely fearless. Svarga, whether he's in heaven, which, for many people could be very dangerous because there's so much sense gratification there. Svarga, Apavarga, Narakeshu, whether he's in some state of liberation, or even he's in hell. Api Tulyartha Darshanam. He sees everything equal. It's all, doesn't matter to him where he is, because he's cool. He's like the potato. He's just cool inside. He's cool and warm inside because of his love of Krishna. So a devotee doesn't care what situation we're put in. He's always, he's basically with Krishna, and he's tasting the nectar of Krishna in his heart. And so anyway, I suppose that's my answer to your question, is that that I guess I gave two different answers, or two different points that I made. One is that we have to, I think we have to accept our bodies and accept who we are. And there's a lot we have to accept and use this body in Krishna service.
Well, that brings up a point back to the point we were speaking about the devotee, is that sometimes we have like a certain karma, like it's unavoidable.
Definitely.
So, I mean, because I was noticing, I know really pure devotees, that chant amazing rounds and really love Krishna and want to study, and they do study and they do deity worship, but at the same time they have family troubles, or they're, entangled in this situation or that situation. And it's almost like, was it avoidable for them? And that brings the point kind of back to what you were originally saying, is there's a purport by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. You mentioned the Savya Sachin verse, just become an instrument in the fight. There's a purport where Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, in regards to the verse, Krishna says, even if you choose not to act, you'll be forced to act because that's your nature. And in that verse, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, if Krishna is saying that actually your nature is to fight anyways, and you're going to be forced by the modes of nature to fight, why is he speaking the whole Bhagavad Gita? And what Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says is that he's speaking the Bhagavad Gita so Arjuna, even though he's ultimately going to fight, so he fights in the right consciousness. So he doesn't fight in any illusion. And so it gives us this sense of like, Krishna's Maya Dakshina Prakriti Suyate Saturacham. He's in control of everything. But at the same time, we have to step into the role or experience the karma, and we have to internally be a devotee. And so it kind of changes the game a little bit.
Correct.
It's kind of confusing because we want to, Krishna says so many times we're not the doer, but at the same time,
we have to act as if we are the doer, but at the end of the day, know that we really didn't do anything. That Krishna
is that why
Krishna gets the credit?
Is that why Krishna says, even if one, not Abhichet Siddharachara, but the other verse in the 4th chapter, he says that even if one is to be considered the most sinful of all sinners, if he's situated in the boat of transcendental knowledge, he can easily cross over the ocean of nescience. And when I think about transcendental knowledge, he knows he's not this body. He knows he has nothing to do with the activities and the modes of material nature. And so therefore, he mentally renounces all these activities, even if he finds himself in these kind of sinful situations. He doesn't want to be there. He's thinking of Krishna the whole time. But it really makes us, when you start thinking like that, it really makes us want to take a step back in terms of judging others.
Definitely.
Or their
Definitely
devotees.
No, that's because offending devotees is the most dangerous thing. So we want to cut them some slack. And also remember, it's Kali Yuga, for God's sakes. So if people, they've got some baggage from their previous life, or there's some scars from past lives, even in this life, we cut them some slack. Cut them some slack and see the good and not see the bad. Look for the bad in ourselves, but not in others. Because anyone who's in any way approaching Krishna, we offer them respect. Now, some of them, we don't want to be around them, but still, we're their well-wisher. So we have a question from Nitai. I think we only have one question today, but we'll see if anybody pops any others in.
Kaylin Mataji has hands raised.
Hare Krishna.
Oh, Kaylin, Hare Krishna. Thanks for being with us, dear.
No, it's okay. Sorry, I was a little late today. I just had a question during the discussion today about the devotee who was cursed to be a demon. Like, what does it actually mean if someone gets labeled a demon in the Krishna consciousness sense? Like, and then what sets them apart when they actually are recognized as a devotee by Krishna? Like, what defines them? What defined them as a demon materially, and then how do they set themselves apart to be a devotee?
Well, this really gets
technical.
My phone is ringing here. Let me hang on 1 second. Ramananda Prabhu, can you hear me? I'm giving a class right now. Can I call you back? Yeah, I'm right in the middle of a class. Hey, Bo. Okay, back to the meeting here. There are situations that these are very, very, very special isolated situations where Krishna has a plan, and a devotee may, for the sake of giving Krishna the pleasure of like dealing with the demon. Because when there's demons, Krishna says in the Gita that whenever there's a rise in irreligion and the world becomes overcome with demons, Krishna will come and he'll rectify that situation. Krishna, for example, I guess the best example was like, well, but it's just too long of a story to tell. But sometimes a great devotee will take the position of a demon because Krishna likes to fight. I mean, it's like guys like to wrestle, for example. We see it with kids, we see it with dogs playing, they like to wrestle with each other. And Krishna likes to he enjoys that. So sometimes a devotee will take that position, even though they're a great devotee, and Krishna will get to exercise the fun that he has, and having a good knockout. And we see that from time to time in Shastra, and it's the person really isn't a demon; they're just playing out that role. So I mean, there's demons, and there's devotees, and everything in between. So what we've been talking about is something very, very special. The role that Vritrasura, he was a great devotee, and by Krishna's arrangement, he became this demon, and he got to sort of show that even someone who appears to be a demon may actually be a great devotee, because all he wanted to do was basically bring pleasure to Krishna. So he took that position.
Thank you, Gurudev.
Do you want to add something to that, Kirtaneshwar?
No, Prabhu, I think that's pretty good. There's one point that I think is, I mean, I in regards to that question that comes up when I because people ask that often, is sometimes Prabhupada uses the word demon in different contexts. Like her question was, what is a demon in like the context of Krishna consciousness? I mean, Vritrasura literally became a monster. He was like hundreds of feet tall with flaming red hair. He was like a hellish monster. Whereas, you also hear in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, or in the English, of the Daitya demons, I'm the devoted Prahlad. And so in that sense, Prabhupada translates the word demon to mean the Daitya family. And we know that not everybody in the Daitya family is demons, because you have Prahlad and you have Bali. But that the Daitya family, meaning the sons of Diti, they're called, Prabhupada translates that demon. Also the word asura, meaning literally atheist, also translates to demon. But I think for the general sense of, what we can say if someone's a demon, we have our 16th chapter of Bhagavad Gita.
Right.
That's our bread and butter there.
Dambo, darpa bimanascha, kroda parushamevacha, agyanam chabijatasya, sarvapartam asurim. Yeah, there are people, and the other thing, if we're going to talk about demons, is there's devotees, there's demons, and there's everything in between. There are, Prabhupada would sometimes use the word an innocent demon. Someone who's really demoniac, someone who's a real demon, you can preach to them, but they're never going to come around.
They're rare.
They're rare. They're rare. Of course, in Kali Yuga, there's more of them, but they're rare. But Prabhupada gives the example, if someone is sleeping, if anybody is sleeping, you can wake them up. You can wake up anyone, pretty much you can wake up anybody who's sleeping. What's the second half of that, Kirtaneshwar?
You can't wake someone who's pretending to be asleep.
Correct. If someone's pretending to be asleep, you'll never be able to wake them up. Their intent, they're not going to wake up. So that's the real demon. That's not an innocent demon. That's a really hardcore demon. But you know what? Eventually, even the worst demon will eventually, one day, he's going to go back to Krishna. Because in the heart of every living entity, even the most demoniac person, is love of Krishna. Everyone's going to get reformed because Krishna made this material world to sometimes you want to be demoniac, in a lifetime. So we get all kinds of experience, heavenly planets, hellish planets, good guy, bad guy. None of it satisfies us. And eventually we go back to Krishna. So
it could seem like an eternity for some that Krishna is always impudent, and what is it? He says, they're always impudent. I perpetually cast them into the ocean of birth and death. Of course, that means he's not saying forever, but there are some people who are very adamant on being against God.
Yeah, what we call, like if we're saying anyone in the material world, we call Nitya Bandha. That means Nitya means eternal, Bandha means bound up. But it really doesn't mean eternal. It just means it's so long. We can have so many lifetimes, billions and trillions, probably use the word innumerable lifetimes, right? But it seems like forever. But when you compare that, when they go back to the spiritual world, it wasn't even a second. Because when you compare a long, long, long time in this material world to eternity, time has no factor. It may seem long, but when you go back, it's like it wasn't even a moment. I want to go into Nitai's question. Nitai, would you read your question?
Yeah, my voice, I got cold, so I'll try to be clear. Okay, so this is from Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 11, Lord Krishna's entrance into Dwarika. So from verse 26. The pure devotees are always hankering after the lotus feet of the Lord. The lotus has a kind of honey which is transcendentally relished by the devotees. They are like the bees who are always after the honey. Srila Rupa Goswami, the great devotee Acharya of the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, has sung a song about this lotus honey, comparing himself to the bee. Oh my Lord Krishna, I beg to offer my
by the way,
prayers.
I like bees because I was a beekeeper for many years.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I love bees. They're always flower to flower looking for honey. There's a great analogy.
Right. So Rupa Goswami is saying, "Oh my Lord Krishna, I beg to offer my prayers unto you. My mind is like the bee, and it is after some honey. Kindly, therefore, give my bee mind a place at your lotus feet, which are the resources for all transcendental honey." And a purport. So I'm asking, Gurudev wanted to hear your realizations on the significance of the lotus feet of Krishna. When we start meditating, we are advised to start from the lotus feet of Krishna, our Guru, and other Vaishnava devotees. How can we become like a bee who is always after the transcendental honey?
It's a great question. How can we become like that bee that just wants Krishna? So there's an infinite number of ways to answer that question. I'm going to let, since we have a great guest with us here, the Pandit, how would you say, Kirtaneshwar, how can we come to the point where all we want is Krishna's lotus feet. We want to be like a bee. We have no other interest. A bee doesn't go to dog stool. A bee doesn't even just go to the leaf or a piece of grass. It's going for nectar. How do we come to that position?
Well, I can only answer theoretically, because I am certainly not at that position. But,
no, I that's fine. Myself either.
So my answer is theoretical, and I feel unworthy to answer the question. I want to hear your answer. Otherwise, I risk Maryavadi Vatikrama, which is talking in the presence of a superior personality. But because you've asked me, I'll say what I can.
Yeah.
Krishna says, the verse that pops into mind, just off the top of my head, is this: Mam chayo vyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatidhyatan brahmabhuya yakalpate. He says that when one is performing devotional service under all circumstances, one can transcend the modes of material nature, sagunan samatidhyatan. And so then Krishna in the 12th chapter, he gives us a kind of progression. He says that you should fix your mind on me completely. But if you can't do so, you should follow the rules and regulations of bhakti yoga and develop a desire to attain me. So we may not be at the stage of basically prema, where we're focusing completely on Krishna's lotus feet all the time, but we can follow the rules and regulations and in this way develop a desire to attain Krishna. And that's the process of sadhana bhakti, which Srila Prabhupada has given us. So when we follow the program of Prabhupada, and Prabhupada really gave us a complete program, rising early, and we have to adjust according to our circumstances, perhaps based on where we're in a temple, out of a temple, near a temple. But basically, we rise early, we chant Hare Krishna, we perform a sadhana, and upon the performance of that sadhana, we have some duty. That could be the duty of a householder, the duty of a brahmachari, but we've been taught to dovetail that duty in the service of Krishna, to dedicate that duty in the service of Krishna, and then we have an evening program where we do some more devotional service. We take prasad in between. And so in that way, we have a full day dedicated to Krishna. And our mind may wonder, but what I was told once is that if we can just remain in the program of Krishna consciousness, practicing Krishna consciousness, chanting Hare Krishna, then what happens is we will be sagunan samatidhyatan, and we'll be above the modes of nature. And in that way, even though you may have some material activities or even material attachments, still you're focusing to Krishna. And I'll just pour one more point in there, is that the difference between bhakti yoga and karma yoga is that bhakti yoga means we're attached to Krishna completely. And it doesn't really matter what service we do, because we're attached to the service because it's to Krishna. Karma yoga means we're attached to this, not the fruits, but we're attached to the action. We like to do the action. We like this service. We want to be a householder. Okay, let me offer the fruits to Krishna. I want to do this. Let me offer the fruits to Krishna. But still, Prabhupada translates them both to devotional service, meaning that we're following certain rules and regulations. And if we follow them nicely, then we'll develop a desire to attain those lotus feet. And then there's the process, especially the verses in the first canto, second chapter, 16 through 21. There's a series of verses on how, if you continuously hear Bhagavatam, you progressively develop your bhakti, Shrinvata Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridyantasto Yabadani Vidanoti Saritsatam, that by hearing, by doing sadhana, you purify the heart. And then even before that, there's this element of serving the Vaishnavas. Shrushrushro Shradanasya Vipada
Shrushrushro Vasudeva Kataruchi Syan Mahat Sevya
Syan Mahatseva Vipara Punyatirthana Shevanat.
Right.
So we'll develop that purity by serving the Vaishnavas, doing everything, and then later on, of course, Krishna says, Mayana, how is it? He says, or Sutta Goswami says, that the mind becomes enlivened. Eva prasana manaso. The mind becomes prasan. Evam prasana manaso. Bhagavat bhakti yogataha. By contact with bhakti yoga, Bhagavat tattva vigyan, one develops scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead in the heart, and then that they become completely freed from material contamination in the stage of liberation. So we don't have to, be thinking of Krishna all the time in the sense of Haridas Thakur, But if we follow the rules and regulations and we follow Prabhupada's program and we follow his way of dovetailing our lives in Krishna consciousness, we'll develop that attachment. That's my answer.
Perfect. Okay. Yeah, I agree with everything you said. What I would say I would stress a little, what I would stress from a little different angle is that he's asking about how can we develop this love, like the bee. We always want, nothing else interests us but Krishna. It's not something that we develop. It's something that's already there. It's already there. When Prabhupada came to America, one of the interviewers, I forgot, it was a newspaper or something, what have you come to bring? And Prabhupada said, nothing. I've come to simply awaken what you already have. So love of Krishna is there in the heart of every living being. It's already there. It's part of the soul. You can't remove it. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem Shadya Kabonoi Shravanada Chudachitti Koriye Udoy. So Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem, that means eternally, Nitya Siddha, in perfect form, Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem. Shadya Kabonoi, that means it's not something you bring in. Shravanada Chudachitti Koriye, by hearing and chanting, which is exactly what Kirtaneshwar Prabhu was saying. If we hear and chant, if we come to these sanghas, if we chant our japa, if we do those things, it's going to awaken. It's already there. It's already there. It's already in our hearts. It's already in the heart. It just has to be awakened. Shadya Kabonoi, you don't bring it in. It's already there. And so we all have it. We've all got it in our hearts. And we should also, in that meditation, see that every living entity has it in their hearts. Not just us, but even like Donald Trump, who I'm not particularly fond of, if I can get a little politics in here. I mean, there's one side of me who just like, wring his neck. But a Vaishnava doesn't see like that. A Vaishnava really sees. This is, the real Pandita Samadarshana. A Vaishnava sees in the heart of every living entity, there's Krishna there, and it can be awakened. So, who was much worse than Donald Trump? Jagai and Madhai. These guys were horrible. I mean, they were like mega demons. Worse than them was Valmiki. He was like, the horrible, like the most worst, despicable person you could imagine. But Narada Muni figured a way, and Narada Muni couldn't even get him to chant Krishna's name. It wouldn't come out. The name of the name of Krishna, Ram, wouldn't come out of his mouth. So Narada tricked him because he knew love of Krishna was there. He wanted to teach that anybody, it's there, even the most despicable person. So he had him chanting. He wouldn't chant Ram, so he chant Mara, which means death. Yeah, demons, they're great at that with death. Yeah, they want to talk about death. Mara, 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 Mara. It turned into Rama. And then that sound, that name, just, well, he started shivering, and tears were coming to his eyes. It's there, and we have to see that in every living being. That's the vision of a devotee. It wasn't that long ago I caught a centipede. Everybody know what centipedes are? And I was, I didn't have anything against them. I don't want them in my house. But, I threw I think I took my shirt off. I took my shirt off. I threw it over and I put him outside. Hare Krishna. He's screaming, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare. It's a pure devotee in there. We want to have that vision. We want to have that vision as Vaishnavas to see in the heart of every living being has that potential. That's what Prabhupada had when Prabhupada came to America. Imagine, he never left India. He was in Vrindavan. And he came to America with drunks and hippies and drugs everywhere. But Prabhupada knew that every one of these people have potential to awaken their love of Krishna, especially because he was bringing the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. He was bringing the holy name. He was ordered by his guru. And Prabhupada had faith that even as degraded as we were, that love of God was in the heart of every living being. It can't just be theoretical. It's got to be part of who we are. We're seeing every living entity. That's how a Vaishnava sees. He sees that in everyone's heart. Anyone can be saved. Anyone. Even the person who is pretending to be asleep. What do we do with him? We give him a pakora. Prasadam is like our secret weapon for those that are pretending to be asleep. Anyone will practically anyone will eat some prasadam. So we have to have this vision. We have to always have the vision that every living being, not only can it be awakened, it can be awakened easily because Lord Chaitanya has come and given medicine that makes it so easy. Krishna demanded a lot. Krishna was quite demanding. You read Bhagavad Gita, it kind of scares you away. This isn't going to work. Krishna says, Bahunan Jamananante, after many, many births. Bahunan Janma, Bahu means many. Bahunan Janmanan, after many, many births. Jnanavang Mang Prapajante, and seeking knowledge for many, many births. That's not going to help me now.
I always say when that verse, I quote that verse a lot when I'm giving classes. I say, Sab Mahatma Sadurlabha, that such a great soul is very rare, but it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be very rare.
Only because of Lord Chaitanya. What about the verse Yesham Tandikata Papam, Jananam Punya Karma? Same idea. Yesham, that means Yesham Tandikata Yesham, those who Yesham Tandikata Papam, those who have given up gotten rid of all their sins. They're sinless now. Good luck. Good luck. You're talking about many, many lifetimes and years of getting rid of all your sins and all kinds of pious activities. Yesam jananam punya karmana. And many, many lives of doing punya karma, doing welfare work and this, many births. Krishna didn't make it easy. And therefore, not many people took to Krishna consciousness, other than some handful of sages. But Lord Chaitanya brought the name, the holy name so powerful in this age that anyone can easily in one lifetime go back to Krishna. One lifetime. And not just go back to Krishna. Not just go back to Goloka Vrindavan. Go back to the most intimate place in the spiritual world. Anyone can do it. Anyone. I look at myself. Believe me, I was not like most of you. I wasn't born in Nepal or some nice family, or my mother wasn't a yoga teacher. My whole life was geared towards enjoying this place. But somehow I ran into devotees and heard the sound of the holy name and started chanting it. And my God, my whole life changed. It's all I want now is to share what I've got, because it's gotten so sweet. In one lifetime, I can tell you it's gotten so sweet that I just want to share it. And that's how we want to be. When we start really tasting it, we want to give it to others because it's that sweet and it's that powerful. It's never been done before. Just Lord Chaitanya's special mercy. And you know what? If we're kind of degraded, if we're degraded in some way, it works in your favor. Why would I say that? Because Lord Chaitanya is Patita Pavana. Lord Chaitanya is saving the most fallen.
Narottam Das Thakur says, right? I'm the most fallen, therefore my claim is first.
Yeah, that's correct. So we get to go to the front of the line. The more degraded we are, the more we can go to the front of the line. And we probably don't have to look too far into our hearts to see it's Kali Yuga, so we're all getting pretty degraded. There's that seedy side.
That brings up a question. How come, Prabhupada says things like, like in this mood of mercy, and then also there's statements like if you're attached to a sunset, you have to come back to the material world.
We have to look at everything Prabhupada said and see it in context. We know ultimately Prabhupada came here when nobody in India thought Prabhupada was going to be successful, because he understood that regardless of Kirata Hunadra Pulinda Pulkasha Ambira Shamba Yavanakasha Daya Yeshupapaya Upashrasha Shudyanti Tasmai Prabhavishnve Namaha. That even the most degraded races, they're practically not even, they're like really low grade humans. Anyone. Shudyanti, they can become purified quickly. And Prabhupada knew that. We've talked about this before. When Prabhupada took his disciples to India, many of his godbrothers, they wouldn't even eat what the Westerners made. He wouldn't even eat their food. They didn't understand what Prabhupada understood, that anyone can be purified. They didn't have the faith that Prabhupada had. Eventually they saw, oh yeah, he's right. But we want to pray to have that conviction. And the best way we'll get the conviction is follow this process and see how we're changing. It's not blind following. We're not blind followers. We're actually experiencing. We're actually tasting. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Pratyakshavagamam dharmyam. By direct perception and realization, we're tasting it. For the first time, we're tasting the nectar of what our soul is all about, what our soul's been hankering for. And once you get a taste, you can't go back. So I think we're at the end of our time. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, especially Kirtaneshwar Prabhu, for joining us. And
thank you, Prabhu. When's the next class?
Next class is on Friday.
Okay.
Please come and join us. Oh, by the way, you're going to give are you able to give a class? Oh my God, Ramananda sent it to me. I think it's a week from Monday.
A week from Monday. Let me see what day that is.
I can tell you. Hold 1 second, everyone. Oh, this should take me a minute here. Let me go to my, a week from Monday. Oh, I got to go back to today. Close this. Today, here we are. So a week from Monday is where is it?
First? No, the second.
The second. No.
Yeah, I can do that.
The 23rd. The 23rd. No, yeah, a week from that. That's Monday. Yeah, the second.
Second. Yeah, I can do that. I'll be in El Paso that weekend, but I can still do it.
Wait a minute. Is that Purnima?
I don't know.
Yeah,
No,
second
it's
is...
a 20. No, it's a 20. The second is a week from Monday's the 23rd.
Okay, the 23rd.
Yeah. It's a week before Purnima.
Yeah, I
Could
can
you give
give.
a class? Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. I'll get back in touch with you and give you the details about how to connect.
Is there a verse? And
yeah, I will text that to you right away. I just want to close out with everyone.
Okay.
And
thank you very much.
Let me come back to Zoom here. Yeah, I'll give you everything. So anyway, thank you all for being here today. It's great to have you where we churn the nectar, and look forward to Sahas, Hare Krishna. I want to hear the mantra. Can you please chant you are muted, but we want to hear Sahas chant the Hare Krishna mantra for us. But Asan, you have to unmute yourself. You unmuted or we can't hear. Oh, there we go. Everybody's waiting to hear the Maha Mantra.
Do Hare Krishna mantra. Maha mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare.
One more.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare.
Beautiful. Thank
Good.
you. What a sweetheart. So now he's poured some nectar on me that we were talking about, looking for that nectar. It came right out of his mouth. Yeah. Just keep going, and as we advance, we're already starting. Come on, we're already feeling it. We wouldn't be here. It's just going to keep getting better. Believe me, if it wasn't constantly getting better, I'd have left long ago. But it just keeps getting better and better and better, and it'll never stop. Okay, thank you all very much. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. See you all next time. Haribol.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Haribol. What a beautiful child.
Hare
Haribol. Beautiful, beautiful. We'll see you all next time. Thank you. Thank you. Say Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Haribol Sahas, Hare Krishna.